Welcome to our BAM session, the first of the year. Excited to have everyone here today. If you have one of those little cameras, it's always kind of nice to turn those on so that we can actually see it. We have people here. And I'm drinking out of my favorite coffee mug here. I don't know if you can read that, but it says basically a dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. A plan backed by action makes your dreams come true. And I heard this, I saw someone posted that on Facebook a year or so ago, and I liked that quote so much I looked it up and got a coffee mug that says that. So, and that's really that's what I've done in my life. And it was kind of neat to see that somebody had written that out so well. So, okay, it looks like we've got everyone in here today. Let me go ahead and dial up my little presentation here. And hopefully you can see my screen. And raise your hand if you can see the screen. If it's so good, so far so good. Okay, that's good. Welcome to our BAM session. Today, I wanted to talk about establishing your agent flight plan for the year. And I've spoken on this topic before, but to me, this is one of the essentials. It's back to basics. It's very important that you have a plan. And some people are just kind of bumbling from year to year into their year to come. And so they don't really have a plan. They just kind of, whatever happens, happens. And I've never been that kind of a person. I've always been someone who I love to set a plan. I love to set goals, targets, and hit those. And the visual of a flight plan hit me a year or two ago. I remember thinking about when I got on an airplane, looked into the cockpit area, and I was thinking, boy, I hope these guys have a plan on how they're going to get this thing off the ground, and more importantly, how they're going to get it back onto the ground safely and hopefully in the right city. And it especially hit me when I was on an airplane in Tampa, headed to Cincinnati, and the pilot said over the intercom, "Hey, welcome to everyone. We're headed to Sioux City, Iowa." And everyone's like, and then he laughed. He said, "Oh, just kidding. You know, we're headed to Cincinnati." And it was funny. And I was thinking, that's funny, but I don't know if I like a pilot with a sense of humor. I don't know. It's kind of like a surgeon with a sense of humor. You know, let's just be serious. This is a good day to be serious. But but it left an impression on me. And I was thinking, so many agents, they get into the business and they don't really have a plan. And it's important to have a plan. What's your flight plan for your business? So we're going to talk about that today. So basically, we're going to talk about 8 essential components for building a massive business. You can be sort of successful if you want to. You can be kind of average if you want to. But my hope is to help you build a massive business and to be successful in that. So there's 8 essential components for that. The first thing I'd like to talk about is building an epic database. It's so important for you to build an epic database. Some of you have maybe goofed around with this over the past year or so, and we've talked about this before, how important this is. But maybe some of you, you got distracted and you haven't really built out your database. This is the very core of your business. And basically what you're looking for, you need to have a spreadsheet. You need to have a list that could be imported into Conversion or CRM or some other CRM that you have. But it's so important that you have a list written out somewhere with everyone who would potentially do business with you or who would potentially lead business to you. So maybe they'll refer it to you. Maybe they'll do business with you. This might be past clients. This might be people, leads that you picked up on the internet somewhere. It might be people that you just know. These people are in your sphere of influence. Might be coworkers or previous coworkers. Could be relatives. Could be parents on the soccer team or soccer parents for the team where your kids are on the soccer team. It could be anywhere where you know people. In particular, I'm always looking for people that I've met. Every time I meet a person, I try to add them to my database. And a database for me is, in particular, it's a list, it's a spreadsheet of everyone that's right there. So I have this spreadsheet. I've got a list of everyone I know and people that would either do business with me or would potentially refer business to me. But I've also got not just their name, but I've got their cell phone number and I've got their email address and their home address. So I've got all this information about all these people in my database. Your first goal, if you don't have a database by the end of the week, I'm not kidding, by the end of the week, you're probably snowed in today, right? So this is a good day to do that. By the way, speaking of snow, I feel just awful that I accidentally came to work in Florida for the next couple weeks and missed the snowstorm. Feel bad. I'm seeing pictures that many of you are posting with snow, 6 or 10 inches of snow on your back deck, and I feel awful seeing you having to endure that. So, but not having to endure that in Florida. Anyway, but you're snowed in. This is a perfect time to work on your database. So build an Epic database. Your assignment for this week is to build a database to 100 people. If you already have a database, see if this week, if you can add 100 people to your database. Go through all your social media, look at all your contacts on Facebook, Instagram, figure out who these people are, add them to your database if it makes sense. But look for people that you can add to your database. You have to get your database to 100 people. Once you have it at 100, you need to build it to 300. Once you have it at 300, you need to get your database to 500. Once you get 500, you need to build it to 1,000. So just so you understand where you're going with your database, everyone in our brokerage should have a database with at least 1,000 people. And that's where you're headed. Make that, if you don't have that, make that your project over the next year is to build a database to 1,000 people. If you can build your database to 1,000 people, you're going to have more business than you could possibly handle all by yourself. So let me see here. People with a database earn 177% more income than those without a database. Agents with a database earn 177% more income. Do you want a pay raise? How many of you want a pay raise this year? Okay, build your database because there's power in the database. And I would even submit to you, if you don't have a formalized database, then you're really treating real estate more like a hobby than a career. Okay. Can you imagine getting a sales position at some big Fortune 500 company and them not having a database? Well, of course they have a database and they would expect you to have a database, and your database is your fortune. So work on building that database. Treat it like a business. You're running your own corporation. Treat it like a business, not a hobby. Okay, the next thing is if you want to build a massive business, your flight plan, not only building a database, but build a lead generation machine. Okay, there's lots of opportunities for generating leads. Even at Plum Tree, we have the 12 lead generation companies that we partner with. You can go to our Plum Tree Business Center. You can sign up for leads for as many of those as possible. It's a great resource. So plumtreebusinesscenter.com. Some of you haven't ever signed up for leads. Maybe you've missed some of the emails we've sent out. That's a great way to get extra business into your pipeline. They're free leads up front. If you close a deal, you'll pay a 25, 30, 35% referral fee to whatever that company is. And it's a great way to start building up your pipeline, getting business. And generally, most of them, they're going to sell or send you some of their weakest leads toward the beginning. And then as you get good, you'll close a deal. As you get good at closing deals, show them that you're serious about it. They'll start sending better leads. So you have to work a few junky leads at the beginning to get into the best leads eventually. But there's so many opportunities in building leads, working on for sale by owners. That's an opportunity. You could probably get an extra 50 or 60 leads per month if you decide to go after for sale by owners. Expired listings, you can probably get two or 300 leads per month if you're willing to go after those leads and do the work. Social media, you can develop leads from social media, professional network, networking with other professionals like financial planners, attorneys, different people who will have access to leads, loan officers, and building a relationship with them so that you're sending them business and they're sending you business as well. Paid leads is a great way to start developing leads. A lot of people diss paid leads. They don't like paid leads, but I built a great business on paid leads. I was paying thousands of dollars per month to Realtor.com and Zillow, and I was able to get about a 10 to 1 return on my investment by spending money on paid leads, and I'm a big fan of that. And I can say some of the agents in our brokerage who are selling the most homes are agents who also they pay for leads from some of these companies. I have an unusual vantage point. I sit in a chair and I can see 330, 340 businesses all running parallel. And I happen to know how much money each of our agents makes. And so I can see what are they doing. And I can tell you some of our most successful agents, they pay for leads that they get, and they're building a great business from that. Circle prospecting is another lead generation idea where you make phone calls or you reach out to a community around a listing. If you get a listing or one of our agents gets a listing or there's any listing in a neighborhood, you can reach out to everyone in the neighborhood saying you're looking to find a buyer for that property. If they know anyone, please send them your way. And what that does is it gives you, it demonstrates how hard you're willing to work to sell a home. And it's a great way to end up getting listings. Of course, every time you do any types of cold calling, we want to make sure that we're careful to make sure we don't call people on the do not call list. Okay. And we've got a lot of information on our Plum Tree YouTube channel, Plum Tree Realty University on YouTube about being careful about the do not call list. We don't want to pay any more of those $175,000 settlements. So, but referrals are a great lead source. Open houses are a great lead source. Find agents who have listings. See if they'll let you hold their house open. I would go through all the listings in your MLS, find any Plum Tree listings, and reach out to the agent directly. I think that tends to work better than putting an announcement in our Facebook group. There's nothing wrong with putting an announcement in our Facebook group that you're willing to do open houses, but it's going to be more effective if you actually reach out to the agents directly. Squeeze pages are a great way to generate leads through conversion. Our software, geo farming, which is basically farming a neighborhood. It's basically repetitively sending mailings and contacts to a specific neighborhood where you'd like to do business. A minimum of 12 mailings per year. Every month they're getting a postcard, newsletter, or something in writing from you, trying to build your business in a specific neighborhood. YouTube videos, some agents are getting leads from YouTube videos. The thing I like about YouTube is you don't have to get 1,000 views or 10,000 views or 1 million views to make money on YouTube. If you get 10 people to look at a video and one of them ends up buying a house from you, then that's a $10,000 video or whatever the commission ends up being. So YouTube video is videos or other social media videos is a great way to generate leads. There's divorce sales. In a good bad economy or a bad economy, there's always going to be people going through divorce. And so that's a great way to connect with attorneys who would potentially help you build a business. You can let them know that you specialize in helping people who are going through this difficult stage in their lives. Same thing with estate sales. If you can develop a compassionate approach to business that you can help people who are liquidating an estate, there's a huge business opportunity there. Lots of opportunities. These are just some ideas. I'm sure there are hundreds and hundreds of ways to generate leads. But the moral of the story is that you are a business leader. You are not an employee. You own your own business. That's very intentional at Plum Tree. Some other companies, they try to give agents the feeling that they're an employee. At Plum Tree, we absolutely do not want you to think you're an employee. We want you to understand you're an entrepreneur, you're a business leader. And so you have the responsibility for your business to generate leads, and the opportunities are nearly endless. And so we want to help you with that. So build a lead generation machine. The next little point here is to become obsessive about learning. As you are building your flight plan, there is so much stuff to learn. You'll never end your learning. I've somehow I blinked and became an old man. I'm 58 years old now, and I don't know how that happened, but here I am. I'm an old man, and I spend every free moment I can learning, learning. You will learn your way to the top. We have a knowledge business. Your business is based on your knowledge. And so I would encourage you to saturate your mind with information that will help you to build your business. Watch YouTube videos, read books, uh, watch seminars, go to conferences, uh, get audiobooks. Audiobooks are probably the number one way, or probably YouTube and audiobooks. Those are the two ways that I consume content the most. And but you can be learning through podcasts. You can be learning through market news and updates through websites and ways to learn. But always be learning. Um, do you exercise each day? I hope you do. We should. I'm sure none of us exercise as much as we would like to. But when you say exercising in 2025 would be one of the highest priorities that we have. We want to be healthy. We want to be strong. And I would encourage you, while you're exercising, use that as a learning opportunity. If you're on that exercise bike, you're on that elliptical, you're on that bike, you're on the treadmill, you're lifting weights, whatever that thing is that you do, put some AirPods in and just use that as an opportunity to learn. So if you're going to work out for 15 minutes, if you're going to work out for 30 minutes, if you're going to work out for an hour, don't waste that time listening to music. Not that there's anything wrong with music. I know this is very controversial. Some of you are going to beat me up later, but uh, but what would happen if you use that 30 to 60 minutes a day, not just for physical exercise, but for mental stimulation, mental growth? You could be building your body while you're building your mind. And so that's a great opportunity for you. Think of it that way. This time is not just for exercise, this is for body and mind. And so there's a lot of things we should be learning. I, for one thing, MLS, dot loop, technology, software. Yeah, there's so many things that agents, they'll get 6 or 12 months into the business, and they'll call us or one of our managers and say, "Oh, how do I set up a loop? I need to know now. It's Saturday night at 10:30 at night. I need to know how to set up a loop. How do I find a contract?" And they haven't been learning. They haven't been trying to learn the systems. And if you're a business leader, you're a business owner, you need to be learning the tools so that when you get into that Saturday night, late night, it isn't a crisis at that point. So be learning the tools that you have. Learn how to use the MLS. And there's classes that you can take at the MLS and online for that. Learn Loop. There's a whole library of videos where you can learn, you can become a ninja warrior on Loop, and it will really help you. But be learning about software and technology, learn about business principles, learn how to use contracts, learn how to use forms, just something to consider, learn how to do video. Don't just do video like you think, but become an educated person on how to use video to build your business. Learn about sales, learn about specific skills, figure out what's the skill you really want to learn in 2025, and go out to find that, to figure out how you can learn those skills. Okay, number four is master business mechanics. Okay, master business mechanics. And I've talked about this before, but it's important that you understand there's three specific elements to building a business. You, as a business owner, need to understand number one, sales and marketing. Sales and marketing. You need to understand operations, and you need to understand accounting. Okay. You are responsible for figuring out how to have a wide open door so that people can buy stuff from you, that they can use your services. So you need to market your business. You need to sell yourself as an agent in every transaction. So you are responsible. You're the chief marketing officer for your business. You're the one that needs to go out and figure out how to market yourself. Okay. But then operations is so important. So I just kind of touched on it, but you have operations includes things like your tools like MLS, Loop, all those things. There's operational things, contracts, forms, addenda. These are your a part of your operations, your systems, your software, the people that you interact with. This is all a part of your operations. You are your chief operations officer for your business. Okay. And then accounting. It's remarkable to me how little thought some agents put into the accounting for their business. Just the clue. And I'm not trying to throw shade on anyone, but just a clue, if someone's not really managing the accounting side of their business, is if they email us to ask if we know how much they made this year, or they email us to see if we know how many closings they got, or they email us to see if we know how many what their production was. And that's fine. If that's the way you want to run your business, you can email us. That's fine. But if you want to really build a massive business, you've got to get your head around the financials for your business. So when you get a commission check, you don't just say wahoo and go out and buy a car, or go out and buy a really nice the nicest plasma TV. I don't know, it's plasma still a thing. The nicest flat screen TV you can get for your wall. It's not just a lottery each time you get a commission check. If you're a business person, you know how to appropriate part of that check for your taxes. You know how to appropriate part of that check for your marketing budget and your budgets for whatever your budgets might be. And so right now, here we are in January. Some of you might be, it's like slim pickings right now. It's like, gosh, I wish I could afford a coffee at Starbucks, because maybe you haven't budgeted properly. And so this is an important time of the year for me to bring this to your recollection. What we try to teach you to do is build up a reserve. Whatever your monthly expenses are, you want to have three times your monthly expenses. So just for round numbers, let's say you have monthly expenses of $5,000 a month. So then you would want to have three times that amount in the bank on reserve by the end of November. Okay. So that's your goal. As you're looking through the year, this coming year, you want to start building up a reserve. So at the end of November of 2025, you want to have three times your monthly budget in reserve in an account. And the reason for that is because December, uh, and really you could even say October, you could have it at the end of October so that November, December, and January, you don't even have to sell a house because you've got the money in the bank. You're doing fine. And then when you do, you save up that money, you've got that reserve, and then you end up selling a house in December. It's like, this is great, better than I thought. And then you sell a house in January, and you don't even have to think about worry about it because you've already got that money on reserve. So you hustle between now and the end of October, end of November. You're hustling, building up a reserve. So anyway, you have your sales and marketing. Most agents are pretty good at the sales and marketing side, but we tend to not be as good at the operations side, and we tend to not be as good at the accounting side. So I would encourage you to develop those skills. And then at some point, you want to outsource those things so that you have another person who's managing those things for you. Especially if you're really good at sales and marketing, you're probably going to need an admin person to help you with the operations. And you probably want to have a CPA taking care of your taxes and accounting and all of that. I ran my own taxes for many years until I it got so complex. I messed up my taxes, made some mistakes. The IRS said, "Oh, we'll help you get it cleaned up," and so they audited me, and that was like getting a colonoscopy every day for like 6 months. So you want to outsource your account, have people who are good at it, so you don't get into trouble with your with your accounting. So, okay, number five, you're building this massive business. You need to learn how to go above and beyond the call of duty when you're working with your clients. You need to establish incredible value in their eyes. You want to surprise your clients with a remarkable level of service. And I learned that from Howard Schultz's book. I think it's called The Starbucks Way. He talked about part of the core principles of Starbucks was to surprise their customers with a remarkable level of service. So think about it. You go into a Starbucks, maybe not as much now as it used to be, won't get into that, but you go to a Starbucks and they think about things that not all other stores think about. They have it's laid out nicely. The colors are great. The smells and the aromas are great. They've got Wi-Fi there for you. I remember back in the days when coffee shops were just starting to become a thing. And some of you agents are too young to even remember that. That's like saying I remember before TV or something to you. But I remember before coffee shops were popular and Starbucks was just becoming popular, there was a great coffee shop in our town, and they wanted to charge people for internet. They wanted to charge them for Wi-Fi. So you come in, you pay them $5 to be able to access the internet. And then Starbucks was a mile down the road, and they're like, we're not going to charge you for that. Internet's free. And I told the owner of that coffee shop, I said, I think it would be good, if you offered that for free. And he was like, how can we offer that for free? It costs us, $50 a month. How can we just give that away? And I said, I don't know. And their business went out of business pretty soon. But Starbucks was strong because they were surprising people. Wow, free internet! What a cool thing that is. Now, as an agent, you should be thinking, what are some things you can do to develop the customer experience for your customers? Have you even thought of that as a thing? Like creating the ideal customer experience. What can you do that's better than what other agents are doing for your clients? What can you do to make it more special? It could be something as simple as bringing them a coffee uh, when you maybe show up on a Saturday morning for a listing appointment, and you show up with coffee, or maybe you could bring bagels or something like that to that appointment, or maybe if you're going out on showings with buyers, you meet them at a coffee shop and then you pay for their coffee. But you're doing things that are just not like all the other agents. And some of you, I know some of you have unbelievable services that you offer to your clients. Some of you are listing agents, and I know some of you actually hire a cleaning service to come in and clean your client's home to help get them ready for market. Some of you offer things like that. Here we are in the snow. Maybe you have a listing, and you could be the one to hire someone to shovel the sidewalk for that listing that you have. But doing things that go above and beyond, where it's just you surprise them. Wow, I had no idea an agent would do that kind of thing. So get your wheels turning on how you can surprise clients with a remarkable, and that term remarkable in the Starbucks book, that term remarkable is an intentional term. You want to give them service that is so amazing, they can't believe it, and they remark about it. They give remarks. They're giving conversations with their friends, telling them about it. Man, can you believe how amazing this agent is that they did this for me? So come up with remarkable ways to serve your clients. And then the fifth, uh, and by fifth I mean sixth. The sixth point, I would encourage you to develop strong negotiation skills. Part of this is going to come from learning. For instance, there's great books on negotiation out there. Uh, there's this guy, I don't know if you've heard of him, his name's Donald Trump, and he wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. And regardless of what you think about politics, that book is such a great book on learning to negotiate. Another good one is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, an amazing book. But there's books out there on learning to negotiate. Learn this as a skill. It's a skill that can be learned. And so you can learn it, but also so much of it you learn by doing it. And so just get out there. Here we are. We've got these wonderful new NAR rules that we're working with. Uh, Definitely, this is going to weed out agents who aren't good at negotiating. You need to be able to give your value. You're selling your first sale to a buyer is the buyer's agent agreement, right? So you have to learn to negotiate. So as far as that particular topic goes, my negotiation strategy on that is to go with a touring agreement because that's an easier sale. Get them to say yes to signing that simple little document. And then that segues into the actual buyer agency agreement, the loyalty agreement. So anyway, develop your negotiation skills and spend your lifetime working on that. So next thing, number 7 is create systems to scale your growth. You want to create systems to scale your growth. So there's lots of systems you can have. Uh, to me, your first system should probably be a spreadsheet or a checklist. So every time you do a task repeatedly, you should make a list of what are the actions that are involved in that process. So if you're going to go show houses to a buyer, I would have a checklist before you go out. Have you done all the things on that checklist? This is how you create systems that will give you remarkable service. So you can think of what is that thing you want to do? Maybe bake cookies for a client. So you put this as a part of your checklist, right? So rather than it just being an afterthought, you plan out whatever that special thing is you want to be in your customer experience. You plan it out and you put it in your checklist so you don't forget to do it. That way it's not just haphazard, but it's actually a planned thing that you're doing for them. So checklists are essential for helping you build your own brand. Spreadsheets, scripts. If you're going to have the same conversation over and over and over with people, what a important tool it is to write it out as a script so that this is how I want that conversation to go. You've written it out so you know exactly what you're going to say. Using a CRM, customer relationship management software like Conversion is a great system to help you manage the complexity of your business. One of the things I've seen is agents who build a massive business, they figure out how to manage complexity. And so they might be working with 10 customers, 10 clients at a time, and these 10 people all have different needs. And this agent has figured out how to manage the complexity of that. Drip email campaigns can be fantastic for follow up. I've set up campaigns that go for 4 or 5 years. After a lead checks in, it's going to, the first day it's going to send an email, and then on day two it'll send one on day five, day nine. So it's all scripted out. I've got the 47 emails I'm going to send someone over the next 5 years, and they're in the system. And it's funny because I'll get people who would, maybe I've been sending them emails for years and years. I don't even know who they are, but because they're in my CRM and they're getting these automated emails, they'll call me, "Hey, Chris, it's me, Bob, and we're ready to buy." I'm thinking, Bob who? Like, I don't even know who this is, but they know me because I've had drip emails set up. So it's constantly sending them these regularly scheduled emails. And just an example of a system is time blocking. So that on Tuesdays from 10 until noon, this is what you're doing. On Thursdays from 1 until 3, this is what you're doing. An example of time blocking, let me give you an example of a system with your schedule. Um, a, a lot of agents, they think, okay, I'm going to do cold calling every day. And they say, okay, so I'm going to spend 4 hours a day, every day from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. I'm going to use that for cold calling. And that's all I'm going to do is call people. And, that's sort of like, say, I'm going to lose 50 pounds this year. It's like, ooh, that's, that might be harder than you think. And so we set up these huge goals, and then you try it once or twice and say, oh man, that's too hard. Well, I would say a good system might be to spend, what if you just spend an hour a day doing cold calling? But the hour could look like this. Maybe it's from 11 a.m. until noon, but the cold calling is actually only 15 minutes. And so who can you call in 15 minutes from 11 until 11:15? So, but then from the 11:15 until noon, you're not necessarily calling, but you're scheduling your follow-up for those people that you called for the 15 minutes. So you spend 15 minutes, but then you spend 45 minutes following up with them on that specific conversation. That's the time that a lot of people don't think about. So you could probably call 5 people in 15 minutes. Boom, 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 boom. If you had a system for your schedule like that, that would revolutionize many of your businesses. Okay, so James Clear wrote a book on habits. It's one of the best books you can read. But he said you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Okay. So here we are at the beginning of the year. Many of you have goals. And I would say don't worry about your goals as much as you worry about your systems. It's great to have goals. I'm all about goals, but your goals won't make any difference if you don't create systems that are going to support those goals. So focus on those systems. Here's an example of a system I saw just this morning on Facebook. I think it was Lab Coat Agents or one of those groups. I wish I wrote down who shared this. As just some agent in Timbuktu or wherever. But this is her social media posting schedule. So on week one, each month, on day one, on Monday of the first week, she'll share a home buyer tip. On Tuesday, a funny holiday. On Wednesday, market report. Thursday, this or that. Friday, open houses. Then week two, day in the life of a realtor. So she'll share a pic from house hunting this weekend. And then on Tuesday, feature local business. Wednesday, listing, promote a listing or an open house. So do you see how she has this whole system here? And that's just an example of systematizing your schedule so that you can have a maximum accomplishment. So it's not just random. It's not just haphazard. well, if I get to it. It's actually scheduled and it shows up on our calendar. So those are some ideas for systems. And then the eighth essential component for building a massive business, I would say, is to build a team who will continue to build your business. Now, many agents, when they think of a team, they're thinking, I'm going to get together with these other three agents and we're going to band together to form a team. And then, they spent all their time creating a logo, a team name. Oh, this is great. We've got a team. This is great. But they haven't really thought through the responsibilities. So one person closes a deal and the other teammate says, "Well, I want half that commission because we're a team." And the person's like, "Well, that was my uncle, and you don't get half that commission." And then the other person's like, "Well, I thought we were a team, bro." And and the whole thing turns into a disaster because they haven't really thought through what is a team. And so when I think of a team, I would start with it like this. You want to build your team, right? So the first step that you're likely going to need is think back to what those systems are that you've created, right? So you've got social media, you've got a social media system, you've got a lead generation system, whatever these systems are. I would add an administrative person who can manage those systems. All right. So if you have a buyer showing and you have these 10 things that need to happen before a buyer showing, have your assistant fulfill that system. Okay. If you have a new listing and you have a listing system, you have these 10 things that need to happen, have this assistant complete these 10 steps for that listing. So it could be a virtual assistant. I've had Venice. Some of you know Venice. I don't even remember how long she's been working out. I hope she's not on this. I think it's like 7 years. She's been with me for 7 years, and she's worked full time since day one. So you can find amazing talent in other countries who can help you with your systems. But that's the way I would start, not by hiring another agent. I would hire an administrative person, and it could be for 5 hours a week. It can be 10 hours a week. So it's not a massive amount of money. Say you pay them $20 an hour for for 10 hours per week. That's $200 a week times 4 weeks. So you're talking $800 a month. So that's if you find someone to help you for 10 hours a week. So actually, Gary Keller is the one where I learned this. You don't have to think, I have to have a $10,000 salary ahead of time. Don't think about that. Just think of it in terms of 3 months. So if I were to hire someone making $20 an hour, 10 hours a week, that's $800 per month times 3 months. That's $2,400. Okay. When you have that $2,400 in the bank, that's when you know you can afford an assistant. Okay. So that's how others build a team. They start with administrative. And then once you're generating so many leads that you can't possibly cover the number of leads that you've generated, that's when you bring on a buyer's agent and you let them cover the leads and you set up your own split. And then when you've got so many leads coming in that you can't possibly list all of the houses yourself, there's just not enough hours in the day. That's when you bring on a listing agent. But way before those things happen, you're going to need administrative support. So that's why the first steps in building your team are going to be administrative. That's the operation side of your business. So um, anyway, build a team, and that's how you end up scaling it. So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to go ahead at this point and stop the share, and I'd love to hear your feedback. So, what ideas do you have? Maybe you've experienced some of these things, but I'd love to hear your ideas, stories. What's your input? What are some systems maybe that you've done? What are some lead generation things that you've done? But I'd love to hear a little bit of conversation amongst our all-star agents today. So who will be first?
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, go man.
I've not been good at keeping a database, especially for homes that I sold years ago. But one hack that I found is you can go into the MLS and you can do a search. At least I assume all MLSs allow this. I've done this in the Dayton MLS, and I do a search for my agent ID under listing agents and sale agents, pull up all the properties, and then I look the properties up on county record and see if the person who I sold the home to is still living there. And then I have their name and address to send them, start putting them on a mailing like postcards. So
That's
that's a trick
amazing.
I've done. If you haven't kept a database and you need to go back and put one together, another hack is if you've used the same DocuSign or .loop account for a long time, you can go in there and start looking up email addresses. And usually, often the email address in there will jog the memory for a name, and or it'll indicate what the name is, and you can rebuild a database from that. And Homes.com was I forget what was the previous the uh, application that's now Homes.com. But I used to build a database in there and it would send out emails and things like that. You can still go into Homes.com if you go in under the professional login on Homes.com, and you can find your old contacts in there. Does anyone remember what that thing was called that
Was
we
it
used to?
HomeSnap?
HomeSnap. Yeah. Yeah. Because I'd confuse it with Snapchat, but because the names are familiar, or similar, but yeah, you can go in there. So just, if you haven't kept up on your database, those are a few tricks to go in and find them.
Chris, I have a
That's amazing.
suggestion.
Go ahead, Marcy.
Yeah, hi everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New
Um,
Year.
Thank you, Scott. Those are fantastic ideas, especially when you've been in business for a while and sometimes those minutia tasks fall through the cracks and then you lose sight of all that information. That's a great way to go looking for it. But this is something that I've done successfully over the years, and that is to make sure everyone in my neighborhood knows that I am a realtor, because there is nothing worse than pulling into your driveway and seeing your next door neighbor have a for sale sign that is a competing broker. So
Yeah.
one thing you can do that's really like the servant's heart kind of attitude is to just go through your MLS to find the actual names of everyone and the addresses on your street and introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm out and about every day. I'm a full-time realtor. And especially during this season where the weather is inclement and you might not be able to get out, I'll be running to the store on a regular basis. Let me know if I can pick up something for you, a prescription or groceries or whatever. There's a lot of older people in my condominium complex, and so that's a helpful offer. But it just kind of says, hey, I'm here to help you, not, let me list your home. It's just making sure they know I'm here. And it's just a friendly thing. And then I start doing pop buys to say, get the real scoop on the real estate market. And in the summertime, I'm sending them an ice cream scoop in the pop buy gift that I'm dropping off. But at least they know who I am and it's coming from someone in the neighborhood and they can feel comfortable getting to know you. So for new agents, figuring out ways to talk to people that are right in your backyard and let them know that you're here to help them for more than just selling your house is a great way to start building a database.
Those are some excellent ideas and suggestions, both Scott and Marcy. Really good stuff there. So thank you for sharing that.
You know,
And I
Chris,
go ahead.
can I just mention, I love all of these tips. We've been in the business for a while. We've heard them, but you can never hear them too much. It's all jogging my memory on things that I've done, and I'm anxious to get started again. So thank you. Also, I want to remind everyone who's listening for the Northeast Ohio agents, our Q1 agenda is firming up. I have a roundtable tomorrow at noon. We're going to be eating healthy, some vegetarian chili and cornbread, and we're going to do a watch party for some motivational, presentation with one of our lender friends. He's connected us to log in, but we can all sit together and fellowship and break bread, but learn as we go. So to stay healthy and keep your mind always engaging in great, ideas such as this. Next week, we're going to do it again, same place, same time, and new menu. We're going to eat salad. And I hope everyone can join us. So I've been sending that out. I posted it on the Agent Connect for in Facebook, and then also individual email. So if you could give me an RSVP, if you're able to make it tomorrow, we want to make sure we have enough. Thanks.
I like the new hairstyle, Marcy.
Thank you. It was a manic moment while I was in the airport. I stopped at a barber shop and said, "Get rid of my hair."
It's good.
And I think, let me see, who was it? Bingaman, Anna Bingaman and her daughter, Abby, I think are doing a gathering. I don't have the details of that, but I caught wind of it. They're doing a gathering for agents in Cincinnati. Scott, do you or any of the others, maybe Aaron, know the details of that? Or maybe, I don't know if Abby's on here, but I think they're going to be doing some business planning, brainstorming at one of our Cincinnati offices this week as well. So check our Facebook page for more information. Lots of good gatherings. Of course, the snow might make a difference. Are you guys buried in snow in Cleveland, Marcy? Or is it
we
not too
have
bad?
we have quite a bit, but the roads are clear. So, just be safe. There's no hurry. Just drive slowly and carefully and stay at least 4 car lengths behind the car in front of you.
Yes. Good advice.
Chris, right now, and I don't have the final details on it, it looks like it is January 15th at noon at the Westchester office. So reach out to Abby if you want to go. It's not 100% finalized yet, though.
Okay. That's good stuff's happening. So that's really great. So,
I'd like to find something that I do. I send out a monthly newsletter, which a lot of people get lost in their emails. I'm looking at my phone right now. I've got 5,888 emails I haven't read because most of those are spam. So I decided to do monthly mailers. It's just kind of what we call a letter from the heart. Sometimes it's a little bit about business. Sometimes it's about charity work we're doing. Sometimes it's about family. And I add people to that regularly. And one thing I started a couple years ago was I added real estate agents that I've done work with, because I realized real estate agents tend to quit the business more often than we'd like to admit. And I had a guy last year who was a former real estate agent who was on my mailing list that called me up to sell his mother's home. And we did it. So don't be afraid to add on some unconventional people to that list.
That's perfect. Yeah, love that. Thanks for sharing. And it looked like you shared something else in there, didn't you? About in the comments,
all sorts of stuff.
What you had something else you were saying? Narrow down your survival number base. What were some other ideas you have there? I have a hard time reading.
Yeah, so I've got, we talked about budgeting and accounting. So I've got a survival number. It's my bare minimum to run my business plus my bare minimum to run my life. That is my requirement to make every month. I don't care how I make it, whether it's real estate, Uber, whatever, doesn't matter. If I don't hit that, I make sure I hit it. Otherwise, I'm dipping into savings. So my first goal was to build up that 3-month reserves. And then was to make sure that I never dip below that reserve. So I don't want to jump into that. That's got to be my bottom line, always in my account. So that way, if I'm having a bad month and I just hit my bare minimum for my survival numbers, I'm not really out of pocket. I'm at a net zero. Another thing I do is I create something called a master metric, something that I have to hit every single month in order to get to my income goals. And so for me, that's a number of leads, people who express some sort of interest in buying or selling a home. And so that's really what I focus on, is how do I get those people? How do I fine tune things? How do I dump lead gen systems that are not working for me, that I've tested out for a length of time to make sure they're really not working? How do I double down on other ones that are doing better? And so those are kind of my two things that I look at. And then another thing we had dipped in briefly, you talked about negotiating. Negotiating is really fun. I have found a lot of real estate agents are not very good negotiators and they give up on their clients a little bit too quickly. Or they just don't know that you can negotiate a certain way. I've had agents who've made an offer on a home, or I've had agents where we've made a lower offer on their home and they've just declined it. And I said, would your guys be open to a counter offer? Like, give us something to work with. And next thing you know, I've got a counter offer in my inbox, which is relatively close. I mean, sometimes we're talking $10,000 away. So if you're not engaging that other client, that other agent, and having real conversations with them, pitching ideas, walking through ideas, you're missing out on some major wins for your clients.
Yeah, good input there. All of that definitely dovetails with what we were talking about, and I appreciate you sharing that. So, what other comments or questions going on? Any thoughts about any of that?
Hey, Chris, can I add something?
Yeah, Brandon, go ahead.
So most of my experience on the marketing side has mainly been on investor side for myself personally. But one of the things I think will transition on the agent side, which I intend to do much more this year than investing, is tracking your KPIs and your metrics. I know Aaron mentioned something in the chat, but especially if you're spending money on your marketing, right? You want to know if those marketing dollars are successful or not. So measuring how many leads that you're attracting with that dollar spend, what's your cost per lead, and then also what's your cost per transaction, your cost per client. And then really honing in on those and then figuring out what's working, what's not working, and then eliminate obviously the ones that aren't so you can pour more money into what is working. But I would say make sure you're tracking your KPIs, especially if you're spending money on marketing dollars. If you're not spending money on marketing dollars, maybe attach a time limit dollar amount to your hours spent. So Marcy mentioned, door knocking out in your neighborhood, how many hours you're spending doing that, how many leads you get from that, and then also how many clients you're able to obtain from those hours that you spent. And you can attach, a dollar amount. Let's say you ended up making $200 an hour for every hour that you spent door knocking because you're able to track your KPIs. So in the future, if I decide to door knock, I'll probably make $200 an hour to do that. So
That's
my
amazing. So, I know you have been in sales in the sales world for quite a while, and you're quite good at it. And so, I suspect that there are some agents that may not know what KPIs are. Do you mind explaining the concept of KPIs, what that stands for, and then what would be some examples of KPIs that you or maybe agents might keep, and then how do you record those?
Yeah, so KPI stands for Key Performance Indicator. So basically, it's really just data and you can measure various different KPIs, but what would be most important to agents would be, the total amount that you're spending, whether it be hours or dollars on your marketing, and then what's the cost per lead. So if someone comes into your database that Chris just talked about, what's the cost to attract them, whether it be 2 hours of your time to get one lead, or whether it be, it costs you $10 to get that one lead into your database. And then tracking your KPIs, what's the cost per contract, or I guess cost per transaction. And then another one would be leads to transactions. So how many leads do you get in versus how many transactions do you get? And then really just those are probably the main ones for an agent. And then to track those, you could just build a Google sheet or Excel spreadsheet or something like that to track those.
Outstanding. Yeah, that's great, man. So hopefully everyone got that and got some good ideas there. Any other thoughts, questions? By the way, following up on Brandon's thought there, I'll just say KPIs are, for me, that was one of the major ways I could evaluate a lead generation source. And so, like if I would buy a Zillow lead, let's say I spend $1,000 on leads for a month with Zillow, and I know that I'm going to get $10,000 when I sell a house, or you could even call it 5,000 or whatever that number is, then that means I would need to spend 5 months of Zillow ads to get one sale to break even. But I didn't necessarily want to break even. I wanted to at least have a 3-to-1 ratio. But even if I could double it, if I could spend $5,000 and make 10,000, to me, that would be a worthwhile investment. If I could spend 5,000 and make 15,000, that's better. You also have the time thing, like what Brandon was saying. If I'm running around spending 40 hours a week and I make, $1,000, then that's not as good either. But that's one way to consider a lead generation source if you're going to put money into something. Another example is keeping current matters is to me, keeping current matters is one of the best tools, resources for keeping your social media loaded up with content about real estate. Like they come out with infographics almost every day. And I think it's about $60 per month. And so, I would evaluate that and say how many months of that if it would be approximately one sale. That'd be about 100 months would give me a $6,000 of expense. And so in 100 months, that's like 8 years or whatever, however many years. How many years? Like, could I get one sale off of that in 8 years? And the chances are I'd probably get one sale every 3 or 4 months off of it. So that's another way to look at the return on investment. All of this stuff has to do with you being the chief marketing officer of your own business. And it also has to do with you being the chief financial officer of your own business and operations. So those three categories, um, they definitely pop up. So, was there another comment in
I
there
had a
somewhere?
question.
Yes, Sarah.
Hi, good morning.
New kid on the block.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for the likes on Facebook. I love the Facebook. It's positive, it's nice. So I really appreciate reaching out if I need any questions. So my question is, and maybe I missed it, you spoke in the very beginning to make a database and fill it up to 100, 300 to 1,000. But what do you do with that database? How do you connect with those leads? That's the thing, is how do you use it?
That's a great question. And so thank you for posing that. There's several key things that I would do with my database. One of them would be that I would communicate with my entire database every time I get a listing. And so the key to it is you want to touch base or have some kind of touch with your database 12 to 20 times per year. And so each time you get a listing, you have 3 opportunities for mailings on your database. So I send them a just listed postcard. If there's, no matter what they're living in, they're hearing from me that I just listed a postcard or just listed a house. And then they're going to get the next postcard I'm going to send them is, you're invited to my wine and cheese tasting open house at this new listing. So they're in my database, they're getting a second postcard on the same listing. And then the third postcard they're going to get from me says just sold. So when I sell it, I also send a postcard out to my whole database, as well as 200 homes that are within a quarter mile of the listing that I have. So that one listing gets 3 postcards, and it makes it look like I'm very busy, because most people aren't saying, well, that's the same house. They're saying, oh man, here's another postcard, more business Chris is doing, and it keeps me top of mind. So that's one of the things I would do. Another thing that I would do with my database is that I would enter all of them into the MLS as a property search for homes that have sold in their specific neighborhood. So if they live in the Winchester neighborhood, I would set them up so every month they're going to get an email from the MLS that shows all of the houses. I would do a map search around the Winchester neighborhood, and each month they're going to get an email. You can set the frequency for once per month. You check on the sold box, not the for sale, but the sold box in the MLS. And once a month, they're going to get an email automated to them. It's a system that shows all the houses that have sold in their neighborhood. And that's important because you're not asking them for business. You're just providing information that they'll be interested in. I mean, everyone's pretty much interested in what homes have sold in their neighborhood because how's my investment doing? So you're setting yourself up as a resource person, an information person for that. The other thing I would do is I would go through my database and I would be, and I would budget time for this each day. I would be liking their posts and commenting on their posts every day on Facebook. Like I would pick about 10 per day, like these posts, comment on them, just to stay top of mind so that you become, 85% of people do business with the realtor that they already know.
Mm-hmm.
So your
That's true.
job is to be the realtor that they already know. So staying in touch with them through Facebook, Instagram, staying in touch with them through postcards, staying in touch with them through these automated emails that they can get. Those are some of the ideas. KCM, Keeping Current Matters, also has a monthly newsletter that's branded for you. It'll have your name, contact information, and it's an email newsletter. So you can upload your database into their system, subscribe to their service, and they'll be getting a newsletter from you. And it's really great because every month they're getting something that's up to date. Okay, it's January. So it'll tell them maybe here's some ideas for getting your house ready for the winter. Here's how to make sure that snow isn't a problem at your home. So it gives ideas that are very up to date. So those are some of the ideas, and maybe others have other ideas as well.
Well, question about that, Chris, about the monthly newsletter. Do you guys use Conversion to send out your business letter? What do you guys use for software?
Well, KCM would send it for me. So they have their own. So you upload your database to Keeping Current Matters. They create the newsletter, you approve it or edit it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it'll send out directly from them. Conversion has, they don't have a newsletter, but it's a database that has AI built into it that will automatically follow up with your leads if they're actively looking for homes. And then you can do a bulk communication to your database, or you can set up drip email programs. So you can create a drip email campaign for people who aren't actually actively looking, but it can just be tips and things like that. Hey, if you know anyone looking to buy or sell, send them my way. Here's an article on real estate. So you can set up drip emails like that. But I think if I was going to do something like that, I would probably go through KCM that has really great templates, infographics, great content that people are interested in.
Hey, Sarah, for my newsletter, I'm a big fan of handwriting the envelopes, but I had Abby Russell just go ahead and design a newsletter like template in Canva for me that I can go in and edit. And sometimes I'll pull things in from Keeping Current Matters. Sometimes, it's a little more kind of from the heart. And then because I sometimes struggle with figuring out what on earth to write, I use Chat GPT all the time. And I'll just say, hey, here's my newsletter. Here's what I normally write. Here's the 5 things I want to talk about. Help me craft this into a proper letter that isn't redundant. And I'll pop it out. I'll make some edits. I'll put it into the newsletter template, and then I'll print them out, handwrite the addresses, because I think people are a little more inclined to open that up if they see an envelope that's handwritten, and then they get shocked and it's from me again. But I get a better open rate. A lot of my sales come from my monthly newsletter, and that's only 100 people.
So you do physical
Wow, so
mail.
Yeah.
that's terrific. So KCM would be digital, although you could still print it and do like what
Stopping
Darren's
you
doing.
from printing stuff out. You see something cool online, grab it, throw it in there.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's and there's all kinds of different ways to strategies for doing it. The key is just staying top of mind, and so yeah, that's all of that stuff is extremely valuable. Bless you, Marcy. We couldn't hear that, but I had a sense you just sneezed. But what other questions, comments, or stories or examples? Anything else out there? All right. Well, with that, I'll go ahead and we'll pull this BAM session to a close. We will, by the way, we do record these and we upload these to our YouTube channel, Plum Tree Realty University. So if you've missed any past sessions, we welcome you to go back and take a look at those. Maybe there's some information out there that would be helpful to you. But thanks for the great input today. Everyone had some great input. We appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a fabulous new year. I believe this is going to be we're going to thrive in 2025. So let's go make it happen. Have a great week.
Bye.